What is going on, people? TripleM back again with another video. It's daily dose of football content, and thank you for clicking on today's video. We're going to be talking about Spain and Portugal and the meeting they had yesterday evening, because even though many football fans don't take international football seriously, especially not the Nations League, I think yesterday's game was symbolic of where these two teams are at the moment, and it was a great indicator of how they might do in the World Cup, genuinely speaking. I mean, you've got the story of two completely contrasting teams here. One in Spain, who obviously haven't been the best version of themselves for a very long time, but yesterday, and in a few other games in this Nations League campaign, we've seen shades of the old Spain, shades of the vintage team that won the World Cup, that team that was able to wear you down for 90 minutes, make you chase shadows, play double the amount of passes that you played, and be accurate with those passes as well. A team that almost looks so good and aesthetically pleasing on the eye when they move the ball about the park and just wear you down to the point where it's inevitable that you're going to lose the game 1-0 and they're going to keep a clean sheet against you whether you like it or not. They look like that team under Luis Enrique. Now, I know he's come under a lot of criticism, but I think he's starting to build the building blocks. He's starting to lay the foundation for a team that could potentially be dangerous in the future. And then on the other hand, you've got a completely contrasting tale in Fernando Santos, who has struggled since winning the Euros, since reaching the pinnacle of competitive international football and tasting the sweet nectar of success, the sweet nectar of first place in the Euros. He's fallen off a cliff. He's absolutely fallen off a cliff, and I think his blind loyalty to certain players is costing him, which we'll talk about in a moment. But Portugal were not very great yesterday evening. So let's talk about Spain first, and then we'll get to Portugal. They had majority of the shots on target. They had majority of the chances created in the game. I believe the one big chance they created, they actually scored off of, and the one big chance that Portugal created, they missed. So it's a game of fine margins when you're playing against a Spain team that looks like they're in their elements. They had double the amount of passes that Portugal had, and they were more accurate. They had 91% accuracy with just over 600 passes played. Portugal only played about 300 passes in the game yesterday. I believe it was 341 to be exact. And I believe their accuracy, let me just double check. Yeah, it was set at 77%. So again, Portugal not having much of the ball, and even when they did have the ball, they weren't really that intelligent with it. There were moments where Bruno had a great shot from range and he almost scored. Diego Jota had a nice look from range. Nelly scored as well. Well, when I say nearly scored, actually, let me rephrase that. They nearly troubled the keeper because it was off target. You can't say someone nearly scored as if it's an achievement, right? It's not. But in both of those situations, and even in other situations with other people had a pop from the middle of the park, there were better passes. And there were moments where you could see the difference in temperament and the difference in decision-making between both sides. But on Portugal's side, you had players who were trying to take matters into their own hands and try to basically be the hero of the show. On the other hand, you had players for Spain who were selfless, who were working together, who looked like a unit, who looked like a team, who had chemistry and had a clear plan. There was so many similar patterns in the build-up of Spain's chances, right? It almost feels like deja vu when you watch Spain because you've seen it all before. If you watch Spain play a lot of their chances that they create and the type of goals they score are very similar to each other because it's not by chance, it's not by coincidence, it's just patterns of play. Let's talk about Rodri, right? Because I think this guy doesn't get the credit that he deserves, right? I don't think this guy gets the credit that I'm pointing to the wrong side. I don't think this guy gets the credit that he deserves. And maybe it's because he plays for Manchester City, and it's that old argument of, well, if you play for Manchester City and you're surrounded by 10 other world-class players, it's not that impressive. Why don't you do it at a team that's struggling a little bit? And that's a fair argument, but I don't think it's fair to the player themselves, because it's not like they're going to just rip up their contract and decide to go play at a low-level team just to prove some guy on Twitter wrong, right? Like, it's just, life doesn't work that way. I think Rodri has shown that he can do this at international level in a Spanish team that is nowhere near the quality of Manchester City, and then he can do it in the Manchester City team, who have exceedingly high standards and exceedingly technical demands on their players. And this guy has shown that he can do it on both sides. It would be easy for me to sit here as a United fan and put on my rose-tinted glasses and say he's not that good, but I'm just not that type of fan. I'm a fan who likes to be unbiased and give credit where credit is due as much as I possibly can. So I think Rodri is fantastic. I think he was excellent yesterday evening. I think he's been excellent in a lot of Spain's performances. And you know what? It isn't the obvious stuff. It isn't playing like 60-odd diags across the park. It's the simple stuff. It's knowing when to be in the right positions at the right time. It's how he receives the ball, his first touch, the composure and calmness that he brings to the midfield. There's almost never a moment where Rodri looks rattled, where Rodri looks like he's hesitating. He's always confident, he's always in control, and technically, he just always moves the ball along so swiftly across the park. And you need that kind of composure and calmness at the base of your midfield. But more importantly, you need that technical player who's going to take the ball off the back four and distribute it effectively. And this guy, as far as deep midfielders go, is excellent. But enough about Spain. Let's talk a bit about Portugal. Let's talk about Fernando Santos, right? I almost called him Fernando Silva for some reason. But yeah, let's talk about Fernando Santos because this guy is starting to confuse me, right? He's starting to confuse me. I'm not going to lie. He won the Euros, okay? He won the Euros. And then what, right? Like, it almost feels like Portugal, the FA, are being loyal to this guy because he's got credit in the bank from 2016. It's been a long time since 2016, almost 6 years, if not more than 6 years. And still, they're relying on this guy who continually suppresses attacking talent. Portugal have so much diversity, and they have such a deep reservoir of attacking talent at their disposal, and yet they're suppressed by this pragmatic style of play. It reminds me of Gareth Southgate. It reminds me of Ollie sometimes, but it's on a serious note. It reminds me of Gareth Southgate. You've got this reservoir of attacking talent. You've got all these tools at your disposal. And instead of using the tools, you insist on being this pragmatic manager who would rather prioritize defense first. And I just don't get it. Because there were moments in yesterday's game where Portugal were on the break and they had an opportunity to actually slow down the game, slow down the tempo, play a couple of passes between the back four, progress it into the midfield, and just slow things down. Make Spain chase you for a bit. You know what I mean? Like, just control the ball. But it seems like every time they got the ball, their goal was to go up the other end and try and nick a goal. And that is not the mindset of a winner. That's not the mindset of a team that's going to win the World Cup. That's not the mindset of a team that is considered to be one of the giants of international football. If anything, it comes across as very cowardly, in my personal opinion. Right? And that's only the beginning, the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Portugal's problems. Because, again, they've got this guy, right? The Ronaldo problem, right? They have the Ronaldo problem. Now, should Ronaldo go to the World Cup? Of course he should. Should Ronaldo start every game at the World Cup? That's a conversation that really needs to be had. Because I'm almost at the point now where I think Ronaldo should be an impact player off the bench. Genuinely speaking, I think Ronaldo against tired legs could be an effective player, but Ronaldo against a defense in the first half, he's just not effective, especially not in the way that Portugal want to play, because they're a very pragmatic team who clearly, against good opposition like Spain, want to hit on the break. So they need that pace. They need that explosive acceleration, that extra yard of pace to get past the defender and create something out of nothing, which Cristiano Ronaldo has built a career off of. But he's just not that guy anymore. At the age of 37, he's just not that guy. I even saw a Cristiano Ronaldo fan account actually admitting that Cristiano Ronaldo might be finished. That's crazy to me. It's genuinely crazy to me that it's taken people this long to realize that this guy is in decline. Like, breaking news. Apparently, Cristiano Ronaldo is not immune to the effects of aging. Who knew? Who knew he was human, right? Like, you know what I mean? Excuse the sarcasm, but... he's old. He's not that guy anymore. And as much as he has a rich history with Portugal, a rich history in football in general, he's one of the greatest goal scorer of all time. You can't just use that as leverage to keep shoehorning him into the team. At some point, Portugal have to put Portugal first. Just like Manchester United have to put Manchester United first. At some point, you have to say, you know what, Ronaldo, thank you for everything that you have done. I love you. I appreciate you. But I am the coach of Portugal and I need to put the needs of the team first. And based on the system that I want to play, you are going to have to chow bench. Your new best friend, he's made out of wood. He's the plank on the bench. You just gotta, you trust me, you're not gonna die. You're not gonna evaporate and disappear into thin air. You'll be fine. You'll come on in the last 10 minutes. You'll score your goal. You'll have your, little fanboys on Twitter saying, oh, he's proved the haters wrong again. How dare you doubt Ronaldo, blah, 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 even though he didn't play for the entire 90 minutes. It's fine. Just give him his moments at the end. Let him be the hero that he wants to be. But in terms of starting every game, I think that would be sabotage for Portugal. And I don't care if I lose subscribers, because every time I talk about Ronaldo, I either lose followers on Twitter or I lose subscribers. That's the correlation. That's what I've noticed. But yeah, I mean, it's almost come to a point where you can't criticize this guy without his mob of fanboys coming after you. But I think even they are starting to realize that he is not it anymore. He's not it. But anyways, apart from the Cristiano Ronaldo issue and the Fernando Santos, I don't know why I keep thinking he's Silva. The Fernando Santos issue, another issue that Portugal have is what's their best midfield? Because we didn't see Ronaldo Santos yesterday. Now, I'm not sure if he's injured or he just didn't get called up. I'm not very clued up on what's going on with him at PSG. But I was under the impression that Renato Sanchez, Ruben Neves, they would all play in a midfield together alongside Carvalho. I was under the impression that Bruno Fernandes was going to be eased out of the team because in the last major tournament for Portugal, Bruno didn't really start as much as it seemed like he would at the beginning of the tournament. So I thought that maybe Fernando Santos. I don't know why I keep calling him Silva. Fernando Santos. I was under the impression that he doesn't rate Bruno Fernandes. That's what I've seen from Portugal. But recently, Bruno has been starting a lot of games and he's been playing well, in my opinion. Will he continue? Will he persist with Bruno Fernandes? That's going to be interesting. Who plays out wide? Is it going to be Bernardo Silva and Diego Jota like it was yesterday evening, even though there was nothing to write home about in terms of that attack in general? Or will he switch things up? I don't know what Fernando Santos is going to do, but I personally think that keeping him for the World Cup is a mistake. It might be too late to sack him now anyways, but I think keeping him this long was a mistake. And that Euros win in 2016 for Portugal was low-key a curse in disguise. It wasn't a blessing, it was low-key a curse in disguise, because I think they've become a victim of their own success now. I think now they're in a situation where they can't drop Ronaldo because he's a legend of the game and a legend of Portuguese football, and then they can't sack Santos because now he's won the Euros. He's got that credit to the bank. He can say, "Look what I've done for you. Look at the memories I've brought for the people of Portugal who love watching this beautiful game." It's a lose-lose situation, and this is the thing. I think if you want to be a successful nation, whether it's in rugby or cricket or football, whatever it is, you need to be ruthless. You need to be able to say, "Yeah, we won, we were successful, but if we want to continue being successful, we're gonna make the change that seems counterintuitive right now, but is gonna benefit us long term." That's how successful teams operate, and it's been well documented throughout history, apart from a few exceptions. Anyways, I'm done waffling. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed listening to me today. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, of course, and don't be shy in the comments down below, of course, if you want to. I'm gonna head out now. It's been your boy TripleM. Peace.